Again, you're being an activist. I am
That's not appropriate, sir.
Who are you with? What's your name?
That's not an appropriate question for you to ask.
You're going to ask how many questions? You get 3?
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Welcome to another episode of Friendly Fire, a show dedicated to all things libertarian. That includes candidates for public or party office, bill reviews from a libertarian perspective, and even matters regarding the party itself. Unlike other shows, Friendly Fire exists to be critical and tough, but fair and honest. Today, Jessica Fenske from Arvada, Colorado, joins me today to discuss her run for City Council District 4. Many of you may already know Jessica, but if you don't, you may recognize her from her Twitter name, Forest Mommy. So let's go ahead and bring on Jessica now.
Hi.
Good day, Jessica. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. This is the second time we've had that conversation.
Yeah.
How are you? Sounds kind of weird all of a sudden. So maybe I should stop doing it before
We're
the show.
professionals now, you know.
Right. Right. I try. I got the suit. I'm not a suit, but a tie on, trying to make it look all legit. Whether it is legit or not is another matter. So, but so you are running for city council. Let's just we're going to kind of do the same thing that a lot of people do, like ask some of the very generic questions for people that maybe didn't watch you on one of the other podcasts, but we'll try to keep it a little bit different. And that way people are getting, people that are watching you who've seen you before, maybe get something new. So let's start from the beginning. And what got you to run for city council?
So I was at my county affiliate LP meeting one night and one month, I think it was January, or no, it must have been February. And there's actually, I don't know if you know this, there's another gentleman running, a libertarian running in the other in a different district.
Okay.
So he was, his name is Merle Hendrickson. He had said he was going to run. And I was like, I'd been just kicking that around like since 2 years ago, I think, since when COVID hit, just like, something to look into. But then I felt all principle, like I was going against principles because like, fuck the government, we'll get into all that a bit later on.
Sure.
But so he said he was running. So I looked it up. My district was up for election as well. So it was kind of like, okay, I've been like, obviously I have a good platform to jump off to start at. And it's like our campaign manager, Jacob Luria out here was texting me like, you should do it. You should do it. It looks like you could win. No one signed up yet. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to. And then I don't have an excuse. So the thing is, I don't have children. I don't have to work a lot. So I have the time to put towards this in a like different kind of way. So I have no excuse to be like, can't be like, I'm too busy with work, or I don't want my family drug into it really. So I decided to do it. And I thought it would be a good strategic wise, just because there'd be 2 of us running now too. So
okay. So there's two districts, two libertarians running for 2 different district seats, correct? How many district seats are there?
So there's 4 district seats, and then they have 2 at-large or 1 at-large position, and then the mayor.
Gotcha. Okay, so it'd almost be like a third. Like if both of you won, it would almost be roughly a third of the city's. I don't want to say authority, but I guess effectively what it is would be
us.
Would be on the city council and the mayor. So that's quite a bit. But even if one out of what you said 4, right? 1 out of 4, and then 1 at large. So that puts you at 5 seats on the city council plus your mayor. So that's 20% of the city council. So that's actually pretty tremendous. And right now, and I believe your election is in November, correct?
Correct, November 7th.
So how confident are you at this particular moment?
Confident enough where it's scaring me, basically. Okay. Yeah, like, oh, I actually may win this, and it's looking like that could happen. And it's not even because everyone necessarily will like me. It's just that people really hate the guy I'm up against too. So there's all these things kind of working and like all together. So yeah, and I haven't even started doing the door knocking yet, which I think that's going to be my biggest sell, because I'm just better at face to face as a person and be able to, I'm going to give people an opportunity to talk about themselves and everyone loves to talk about their issues and stuff. So it'll be a great way to converse with people. But Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Right. All right. It's looking good, and you're a bit nervous, which is a good thing because my wife is in real estate, and one of the things that the real estate people out here love to say is that if your dreams are, if they don't scare you, they're not big enough. So clearly, this dream here, if you will, is big enough. So you're right at the sweet spot, apparently. So, so let's continue on and let's see where we go. This so I one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, and it's on your website. So I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here because I found this very, very amusing, and I remember having a couple conversations. I commented on a couple of things on Twitter regarding this, and this is this voluntary code of fair campaign practices. So
The
let me pull this up on the
pledge.
screen. Let me see where we go here. There it is. Is it not on this? There you go. Okay, perfect. All right. So and it's very clear where you stand. And if let me see if I can't make it a little bit bigger so that people can see it. There we go. There it is. All right. So it says, "I will not be signing this pledge. My campaign will stand on the strength of its actions without any pledge or what a non-binding statement might indicate. I set the tone of this campaign and can explain myself to voters directly." I like how you end it. Thank you.
I think someone on Twitter helped me write that too. So Twitter's been all part of the campaign the whole way, which has been super fun. So I
Right.
love it.
So tell me about this, like, so for people that let me kind of lead in with this, and then you tell us kind of like how this kind of came to be or what's going on here, because here in Jacksonville, we had three candidates running, and there was no such voluntary code that was presented. However, I'm familiar with these kind of things because in other industries for which I have been participant in, the developer community being one of them, web developers, they had something going around a few years back where um, there would be these big conventions, and a lot of notable people would refuse to go if they didn't have these code of conduct, which is basically a similar thing. And I hate the term, but they kind of lean on the more woke side. So they don't just stop at like, hey, don't be a jerk, don't do these kind of things, treat people fairly. They kind of go on a little bit further than that. So what's the deal here? Is this something that has existed for a long time, or is this something that's relatively new? What can you tell us about this? Because this is the first time I've seen it with a political campaign.
I'll be honest, I don't know how long they've done this. I haven't paid attention. I'm one of the guilty people, wasn't paying attention to local elections, but now I am. But I don't know. I just didn't like the way it was worded, just with everything I've been learning over the last handful of years, and just I don't need to sign something like
Mhm.
this because so I emailed the city clerk lady and I said, okay, so which my opponents have signed this pledge. I was like, if I find them against one of these, what do I do? And she's like, well, nothing. It's just the court of public opinion or something. So I'm like, so what's the point of it, right?
Right.
And then there was another article written. It was about all four of the candidates who had been signed up at that time, and and that paper made a big, they're like, she didn't sign the pledge. They made a big deal about it too. So it really felt, especially after that happened, after not signing it, it's like it
Mhm.
was a virtue signal. That's all it is. It's just this like weird virtue signal where I'm like, if I make a mistake, I'm gonna make a mistake. I'm not gonna, like, this pledge isn't gonna stop me from making a mistake. And it used words like disavow.
Mhm.
If like someone who supports me does, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not in control of the other of people and what they do, and I don't like disavowing things anyway. So
Right.
yeah, it was a little weird. And I actually, the first time I had heard about it when I was signing up for everything, Merle, the other guy, he's like, hey, did you read that pledge yet? And I hadn't read through it yet. And he was like, seems a little bit like the DEI and kind of things like that. And so then I read through it and I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It just didn't feel right signing it. So he didn't sign it either.
Right.
So like they made a big deal about that. But then
So
go ahead.
both libertarian candidates have refused to sign it.
Yes, and
Okay.
you wanna
So
know what else we did wrong too is when so it's a nonpartisan race, of course,
Mhm.
and so but when we were filling out the affidavit, and I just was mindlessly did this, there's a spot for party, right, to put the party down on this affidavit, and I was like, Okay, look at Libertarian Party Colorado, blah blah blah. Like I didn't think of that, and they were like, they put their party association on the affidavit. It's like it doesn't even matter because it's not going to
Right.
show up on the ballot. It's just
Right.
people will see it. But everyone, the other sides who are both running, like they're like high-ranking GOP people, and plenty. You
Right.
know, it is part. That was why a lot of people were laughing right away that are kind of been in the know around chicks. They're like, it's so partisan, and they were trying to make it sound like we were making it partisan. It was like,
Right.
no, actually, we're just kind of stepping in to be like it's funny too because at the State of the City address the current mayor gave, because he'll be stepping down at the end of his speech, he's like, we need to keep party politics like Democrat, Republican, and even Libertarian out of the city and stuff. And I was like, first
Okay.
of all, cool. We made him say that. That's
Right.
cool. And then second of all, actually, every government should be kind of a little scared of libertarian politics because it's not left right. It's the barrier between the people and like the government. And
Right.
so like it's totally different. It's not partisan.
Right. So, um, the document that the affidavit that you had to sign had a spot for party, and then you filled it out, and then they squawked because you filled out the spot on the form
Yeah.
that was available, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
it's available there. It was like the first line. So I was like, oh yeah, fill it in. And
right.
the day I filled it out, later that day, the clerk called me and she's like, you don't have to put this on there, blah, blah. And I was like, well, does it matter? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, then I'm not gonna come do another one. Like they
Right.
didn't notarize it. It's fine. Who cares,
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, I understand now. People wanna
Yeah,
make a
when
big
I
deal.
when I read the code, the voluntary code, it really read to me like what it was really intended to do was hold you accountable for what somebody else might say on your behalf, even if they weren't working formally with your campaign. So if you have somebody out there that's just a rabble rouser, and there are people out there that are just they go out and they stir the pot. That's just what they do. That's kind of fun for them. And it sounds like this is just a way to say, hey, you have to deal with this person rather than everybody else maybe just ignoring that person. Because I
Right.
remember, reading this a while back and I was like, the heck with that. Don't sign it. That's a
Yeah.
terrible idea. So, so you say you can explain yourself to voters directly. So let me ask you, you're getting ready to go out to start door knocking. About how many doors do you think you'll knock?
I'm hoping by the time November, to me and volunteers, I'm hoping to get at least 8,000 in.
Okay. And
So,
that's 8,000 out of roughly how many there are?
see, there's about 11,000 vote. I knew it by votes. I don't know the door hold number, but I know there's like about 11,000 voters.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
Okay. Fair enough. Because there'll be some like, homes with two
they live
people.
together. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're door knocking and somebody happens to recognize you from Twitter and they've seen some of the things that you've tweeted, are you like, are you going to be comfortable in that? Now you're knocking on a door and you're saying, hey, I want to run for city council. I want you to vote for me. And then they want to talk about like non-political stuff. How prepared are you to explain any of the things? Because I mean, look, we don't have to go into all the details, but you've posted some pretty interesting things in the past. So how are you prepared to present yourself in that context?
I'll just be very like I'm just used to that nowadays because I'm around so many people that have known me on Twitter
Mhm.
first now, it's just not, but this with people, it's not a big deal. So if they're going to be mad about it, then I'm just going to have to accept that graciously and say that, I'm okay with you being not accepting that or being mad about it, but
Okay.
I'm definitely not going to, like work it up. It's like, no, you have to accept me. I'm definitely not going to say anything like that. I'm not going to make it into anything. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And that's well within your right and understandable to not like
Sure.
some of the things I may have done. So,
Okay.
but as far as like if I've lived a crass life. I can talk about anything with
Okay.
people if they want to talk about things. So
Right. And I think that I think it's probably a lot easier on a more local level, right? Like if you were running for president or something like that, then everything becomes the biggest deal in the world, until the next thing is the biggest deal in the world, and so on and so forth, right? But I think that at a local level, there's a lot more flexibility for people to live their lives in a way that that may not lend itself well to people trying to bring you down, right? Like, people trying to get out there and say, well, did you look and see what this person did this, this time, or did you see what they said here? And it seems like, what I tell people, because people have asked me, they said, well, would you like to run for office? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And they're like, well, you got a skeleton in your closet? And I'm like, nope. And I said, but here's the thing. You don't have to have a skeleton in your closet, because people can find something and it becomes a skeleton, right? So
Exactly.
I think this is an interesting question to ask people who, and I don't want to say that, you have skeletons per se, but like say that have done things that can be off-putting to voters.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're prepared, and that's great. And I think it's awesome that you're going to go knock doors and, actually talk to people. Now, when you knock doors, because it's a nonpartisan race, are you allowed to at all mention the Libertarian Party, or do you have to like keep that mum's the word, or?
I'm going like I'm gonna go to the Libertarian houses first, so I'm obviously gonna say it to them. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not really gonna bring it up because I really wanted to open with like, what is your issues to the
Mhm.
people? Like, I want to you because I'm in real estate too, and I've never door knocked for real estate, which
Okay.
it would have got me business, but no, I would never do it, right?
Okay.
But for this, I'm like, I'm not selling me necessarily in that kind of a way. I'm not
Mhm.
pushing a service, right? But I'm like, I am going to be your representative, so you could like it should be easier to get people to open up, I feel like. So that would be the first thing is just talk to me, tell me your issues. So I don't think I'll need to lead. I definitely won't lead with I'm libertarian.
Okay.
If I find out they are leaning that way, then I'm gonna be like, you're coming to our county affiliate meetings from here on out.
Right.
Like I'm just gonna start trying recruiting people.
Right. How come I haven't seen you lately? What's up? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got four issues that you're going to be focusing on, and I wanted to ask you about two of them specifically. So the four issues on your website are public safety, attracting and retaining businesses, cutting town spending, and retaining citizen power. So I want to ask first about attaining and attracting and retaining businesses. Is that something that has been an issue, something that people argue about in some way out in Arvada? And the reason I ask that, here in Jacksonville, there have been these huge debates where they say, well, we need to pass this legislation because without this legislation, we're not going to get certain businesses. And, there have been arguments that like Amazon wouldn't bring a warehouse out here because, we didn't have this particular, and they were all the feel good legislation, human rights ordinance expansions and stuff like that. So is that something that's an issue out in Arvada, or are there other issues that need to be addressed?
It has a little bit to do with we're still developing out here. It's a sprawling suburb, so there's still a lot of building going on. So it'd be just more keep making sure that businesses are still coming in. And Arvada actually did a good thing during COVID, at least a little bit. They protected businesses to some extent from our public health department, the county department. So would be to kind of keep on things lines like that, like we'll protect you. Something that's interesting that will come up is pot. Arvada does not have any pot within our city limits or recreational marijuana sales, but everywhere else does. You can go like a minute down the road, right? So that'll be just an interesting issue that's I know is going to come up because it's already come up when I'm talking to like GOP people and stuff. So, but it seems like if you come to it from like a fiscal thing, everyone can kind of come together on it and a vote. And the guy I'm up against thinks that people shouldn't vote, and I think if we're going to make decisions like that where it's going to be contentious, then we will bring all that to a vote.
Gotcha. So when you say the city was protecting businesses from the county, what does that mean exactly?
They were able to help them stay open or open at different times than the public health department was saying. They helped them. They did where they closed down streets to make it easier for them to because then they had to move. They had to move all the business outside during the pandemic. So they helped them do stuff like that, make it easier for them, I guess you could say. But they did have a mindset that the city is more than the public health, the county department. They had that mindset, at least more localized.
And the public, the county health didn't make a stink about that. They didn't come back and say, "Hey, you better
Not
do
too.
this," or
No, they were there because they were trying to stay within the rules and stuff, but while helping, they just helped a lot. So
gotcha.
yeah,
So it sounds like what the city did then was they just kind of found, okay, where are the weaknesses and whatever's been imposed, and then let's find a workaround that doesn't violate. Is that what I'm hearing? They didn't violate.
yeah.
So they didn't violate the initial rule, but they found some other workaround that allowed people to still conduct business, whether it was bring your business outside or we're shutting the
And then
street
like
down.
making liquor allowed outside too, things like that, which that is liquor license issue, but they made it so you could walk around this one street that used to be a street that got shut down, and you could, during COVID and all that, you could walk around out there drinking alcohol and everything. So they did
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Cutting town spending. What's the item that the town spends money on that they shouldn't be spending money on?
So the first thing, well, that's actually a tax on us. A lot of recreational district stuff out here, they're kind of hand in hand with a recreational district that's like quasi government. They have a ton of things they're spending money on. And then the worst thing is, of course, as libertarians, the roads.
Hmm.
But at the State of the City address, the mayor was like bragging that in a couple years they changed the budget for the streets from like 3 million to 12 million and all this. And we have two major street projects that are the streets responsibility going on right now. And they're obviously going longer. Obviously, with inflation, everything's costing more.
Hmm.
So those are obviously done and gone with things like that, where we know there's going to be further expense. It's like they didn't plan it out. They knew they were digging up old road and they were going to be able to fix other infrastructure at the same time, right? It's like they didn't plan for any of that. So it's just been going on forever. Keeps getting like pushed back. And it's two streets in it's two major thoroughfares in our little town here. So it's a pain in the butt. I know someone down the street from the one, their basement got flooded from the project. So I think a couple other people's did too. Um, Definitely better budgeting on the street stuff would be the town spending. And I would definitely say no to a lot of stupid things, I say stupid. That's not very nice of me to say, but just, I don't know, just wasteful things that aren't going to benefit the citizens really, or like new bureaucratic programs I know the county's doing, that's the county, they're doing something right now, this huge study for 17 months. I know it's costing like a ton of money. So it's things like that I would be against that aren't beneficial, where I know we're gonna have to spend a ton of money on studies and this and that. And the DEI programs. There's no reason that citizens' taxes should be paying for all the DEI stuff for all this government employees, the city
Hmm.
employees. And in the one paper, the gentleman I'm up against, he said, no, we need to keep the DEI because it helps us be inclusive. And much
Right.
like that pledge, I'm like, do you have to go to these classes to prove you're inclusive, or can you just be like, you either are or you aren't? And I just have a problem with taxes being spent on that, because it's the same thing as any other backroom deal. It's a consulting thing, and they're getting all this money and
Hmm.
forcing these people to go to it. So that'd probably be the major ones.
Gotcha. Do you think the citizens will support these? Will they support you when you oppose these kind of things? Do you suppose, like when you just talk to friends and family in the area, what's your vibe based on that?
Yeah, I would think so. I think a lot of people who even work for the city are like sick of the DI programs. Um, what's the other thing? Oh, the roads. Yeah, everyone, like I said, for the friends who they're gonna host porch tour. So like, yeah, their water in their basement, and then they had to deal with the government. And then he was showing me like all the budget papers because they gave it to all the neighbors right there. And it just like made no. It was just they said yes, we're at this point, and they weren't at that point. So I think
Right.
they would be totally up with better planned out road projects.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, and then the last two items we can just I think you said in a different podcast on the retaining citizen power, that was more like informing the citizens, and encouraging them to participate more. So maybe to come down to city council and yell at you guys, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So let's say you get elected, and obviously there'll be some people that will have voted for your opponent. So are you prepared to also get yelled at,
Oh yeah.
by somebody who disagrees with your decisions? Maybe they think that, hey, we should spend, twice as much money on the roads, or maybe they say we should double down and go after this DEI even harder. Like, are you, like, how well do you suppose you're going to be able to compose yourself while you're sitting there? Maybe an angry citizen is yelling at you.
I'm sure it'll take a minute to get used to.
Mhm.
Definitely had enough of it online in my career online, but yeah, it'll be something to get used to. I feel like most of the times that like I vote against something, it'll be logically protecting the citizen. I can always say whether they disagree with me or not, I can point out like this is actually saving you money or whatever the issue may be. But
Right.
yeah, I know it'll take a minute to get used to. I'll keep I won't yell back or anything like that, but it's definitely gonna be like, whoa, at
Right.
first. Yeah. Because
Right.
I do it plenty at the state capitals. So I know like if there's people like me to the people I yell at, then someone's
Right.
gonna yell at me.
And it's possible that you may get libertarians yelling at you if you supported something that some of them felt like maybe you shouldn't have supported, or vice versa, right? Because there are libertarians out there that, my audience probably knows this, that disagree with other libertarians. That is a big
Yeah,
thing.
we get a lot of that. We get a lot of it.
So, I want to ask, it's now maybe I got it wrong, but I follow you on Twitter. And it seems like that your jump into, like, everybody found out kind of all of a sudden that you were running for city council when you got into it with a local reporter. Is
Yes.
that kind of how things played out? Because I think that they published your affidavit,
Everything. Yeah.
and
Everything.
they published it, and it had private information on there, home address and whatnot. And so then there was this like negative back and forth. It seemed like, because I kind of saw some things that, this person was tweeting. I saw how you were tweeting, and I was like, all right, it seems like there was a little bit of a hostility there, which is fine. How has the reception, if any, been with other media in the area?
The only in the area person that reached out was someone who wrote for the Federalist, and I don't think they wrote a story or anything like that. So,
Gotcha.
and other than I really never interacted. I don't watch the news or anything. Oh, and then my local town paper, she was definitely a little hostile, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Again, they try to make me look bad, and half the time I'm like, I kind of look cool actually. So,
Right.
oh, and another that's true. There was another one. It was my local paper, and then this other one for some what newspaper is it? I have to look it up. But yeah, I spoke at an Free Assange rally,
Mhm.
and she wrote like a little bit about or another guy said in his speech, a little bit about like the rally, and then the rest was like a hit piece on me. So that kind of stuff, fine. The other ones that work at that news station, I know don't like me as well, from like they just don't like me from we called him out during COVID.
Mhm.
And then that other one, the one who did that to me, he really hated me because I called him out for threatening to dox someone else. So he was going to show me that
Right.
all this. So, but yeah, other than that, I haven't talked to the media yet. But now I'm like, if that station wants, if I'm not saying I'll be a rabble rouser, but just in case stuff starts getting interesting in my city council meetings or something, and that station wants to come, I'm going to be very I'm probably not going to talk to them though. That's the
Okay.
only my
Okay. And the reason I ask is because media can be so important, because they help elevate even our own presence, right? I mean, like, at the very beginning of the show, you had mentioned that the mayor had said, like, we need to get away from party politics, Republican, Democrat, and even the libertarians, right? And so it's great to get that name out there, or at least your name in this particular case, since you have a nonpartisan race. And so I'm just curious, if there has been any other media in the area that have been a little bit more receptive to you running, and then you might be able to expect or hope for maybe some good articles coming out in the future that are a little bit more on the supportive side. or if you think that the media is going to be pretty hostile in general.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much only going to jump on things that are going to make me look bad, which is
Gotcha.
fine. So that's why I'm like, my opponent hasn't even come at me yet. And I know he's, I'm like, who knows? Who knows what can happen at this point? It'd be cool if a nice article was written, but
Right.
I'm
So
not
you're
even
not
gonna
worried
say
at
it.
all about any negative press whatsoever. You're just going to face it head forward, straight on, and then just come at me, bro. And we're going to deal with it. And I'm going to knock doors and talk to people.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
that's all grassroots, baby. That's all I can
Right.
do.
Do you have plans for like mailers or phone calls or anything like that as well? And then are you, I know it's popular in a lot of places and I guess it seems to work at least to some degree. Are you planning on any kind of negative campaigns? Or are you just going to like, look, here I am, this is what I'm about, and then not even mention like your opponent?
So I'm gonna try to not, as far as the last part, I'm gonna try to not mention him as much as I can because that's free advertising for him to some
Mhm.
extent, right? But which I learned on Larry's show, or someone put that. But as far as the mailings and online ads and things like that, there's a whole timeline. I have the sweetest. I have a campaign manager, and he
Okay.
is like stoked and excited, and so we have it all planned out for that sort of stuff. That'll be a little bit closer to. So in August is when I have to get the signatures to be officially on the ballot. So that'll be kind of like everything will really ramp up then. And as far as negative, I know like we'll be ready. People have been reaching out to me and
Mhm.
telling me things and stuff. So I'm like, we'll be ready if we need to
Okay.
play dirty. But I will also be like cautious of that in a way too, just because I know how they're gonna play dirty again. That's kind of the fun thing about like my background is I kind of know their hand. We know their
Mhm.
hand. We know what they're gonna do.
Right.
So there's that. Just kind of
Right. And
prepare
you don't
for it.
seem to be, you don't seem to have any trepidation about what may come. Right. So that's a good thing because politics can be nasty. Just the way it
Yeah,
is.
my first 12 hours were super awesome. I thought
Right.
I was just gonna get on the ballot. Like I wanted to run a campaign and stuff, and I was like, well, at least get on the ballot to have another name on there, but
Mhm.
just in case. And then it blew up. So then I'm like, okay, I guess I have to be doing this. If all the weird stuff that's happened has only made me be like, okay, there's something going on, obviously, if it's
Mhm.
causing this much of a problem for people. So especially
Right.
just like little old me. So
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So, what else about your run? Like, actually, you know what? I've got another question. You were active with or at least the party prior to deciding to run, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what has been the reception locally, and then also at your state level?
State level is super supportive. We're all like I'm pretty great friends with everybody on the board and
Mhm.
um it happened right before our convention and a lot of people wanted to talk to me and they seemed really happy about it. Locally, like my county, everyone's really excited about it. I don't know if it's directly or indirectly, but I've gotten a couple more people to show up from Twitter and stuff to come. So that's just good as for for anytime people show up at the party meetings. It's great.
Right.
Um, but yeah, everyone's been pretty receptive. The only haters are the people who've been hating everything for always. So they can hate
Right.
me too. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough. All right. So, what do we not talk about? What do we need to cover that people really need to know about, about you and running for District 4?
I really part of it now too, since things blew up, I feel like I've been such a small voice in my life. And now this with the last couple years and this blew up. And so I just want to spread the message of liberty as well. I want to plant all those seeds. So that's going to be a huge thing for me to be
Mhm.
able to tell people from in a way, maybe they've just not even heard or considered, but they should have, especially after the last couple of years of just like, you should have the power, not the government shouldn't have power over just little things like that. Um, walk into the district, getting to know it. Definitely going to find some more volunteer opportunities. I used to do a lot of volunteering before COVID, just in other places, and so now it'll be kind of interesting. When I'm door knocking, I'm hoping I can find some cool organizations to volunteer for through the
Mhm.
people. And the biggest thing too, because like I said earlier, I'm guilty of this with the local politics. Like it's so hard to pay attention to.
Right.
Even now, I bring it up with people, and they're just like, "What?" Like
Right.
the guy I'm running against has been in for 12 years, and there's people who've never even heard of him before. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we're just not. It's harder, and it should be easier. So if there's a way I could change the culture, just because everything that's happened in my life and everything for the last couple of years, obviously there's something going on. If I could change the culture a little bit back from these corporate weirdo politicians, the more normal people, make it more like maybe like not change it, but like make it seem like a jury duty thing. Like let's just pick a different type of person each time, and
Right.
then somehow figuring out a way other than just like a newsletter and town hall meetings. If I can figure out a way to make figure out how people would want to get more just know easier, something to pay attention to, like an app or something that could be just, hey, this is exactly what's happening, and I'm not going to do backroom stuff. I would love to I'm going to make them teach me everything. If I get in, I'm like, you're going to teach me exactly how we do everything. I already have other people on like planning commission teaching me stuff, and all that kind of stuff too. So I would like to be able to learn everything and bring it to the people in the easiest way possible. So figuring that out, because not
Gotcha.
everyone wants to watch the town hall meetings, and not everyone wants to read a newsletter. So there's got to be a way, though.
Right. So you're already learning what you need to fill that role, like
Yeah,
the formalities and the things
yeah.
that.
The people who've been reaching out to teach me stuff are just that's what's been amazing about it. It's like, okay, maybe I didn't want to do this, but maybe there was a reason for all this to be happening.
Okay, yeah, and I actually can very much appreciate that, because a lot of times people jump in and they want to run in a race. Usually it's the higher level races, right? Like the federal races, and maybe they haven't done anything at the local level. And then you start asking, like, well, are you ready for this particular role, to show up where you need to show up and to understand the formalities and all the things? Because it's easy to say, I'm going to go in and maybe I'm going to write some legislation or something like that, but there are formalities. And if you don't follow those formalities, then a lot of the work that you might end up doing just becomes null and void, because you
Right.
didn't do it correctly. So I can appreciate that you're already starting to learn, and saying, like, look, by the time I get there, by the time November, well, not November, but by the time I get seated, after winning in November, I will be prepared to be on the city council and do what a city council member is supposed to be doing in the way that they're supposed to be doing it. So I can appreciate that. I think it's great.
Thanks. Yeah, it was like I said, I wasn't expecting it. I was just
Right.
gonna be happy to, like a lot of libertarians, get on the ballot, but no,
Right.
it's been great.
Well,
I will definitely do my best, which won't be perfect, obviously,
mhm.
but as long as I keep the people, like, I just feel it'll be just great to like just constantly thinking of it from a libertarian mindset and being in there. We're like, how does this affect the people? How does this take power away? And just saying things that way, which people haven't heard. They don't sit
Mhm.
there and say those kind of things. And some things that have gone on in the city here beforehand were like my opponent said, no, we can't take that to a vote. And it's like, whatever you feel about voting, yeah, we can take things like making everyone use the same trash service to a vote. We can take that to a vote, so yeah.
All right, awesome. So let's put up on the screen here. Let me get it back up here. Where are you? Right there. So people that are watching, they can go to jessicafenske.com, and then click on contribute. And it looks like that people can give you up to $99, and they don't have to provide their employer or profession for anything that's $99 or less. So once you hit that $100 mark, or I guess $99.01, then you need to provide your employer and profession, and then the limit is $500. And then, of course, they can send you some email and talk to you, Fenske for District 4 at gmail.com. So any final words to people out there, or is a little tongue tied there. I apologize.
Good.
Any final words for anybody, or are we ready to close this show?
I'm just trying to get involved locally in your area. And that's all I got to say.
All right. Awesome. Well, Jessica, hang backstage for just a moment. Let me close out the show. And I appreciate you being on. And it was great having you. And I look forward to seeing what the results are in November. What day in November exactly? Do you know?
November 7th.
November 7th. All right. So on November 7th, everybody, we're going to be watching Arvada and we're going to be checking out to see exactly how she does. So you hang backstage for just a moment. I'm going to close the show out. All right, folks. So thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Right now, that is all, but I want you to find other episodes at libertydad.com and you can find my archived video episodes at youtube.libertydad.com. You can also connect with me at LibertyDad on Facebook, LibertyDadPod on Twitter, or email me the old-fashioned way, libertydadpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. Have a great week. Catch you next time. And I'm